Do you believe in ghosts? Apparitions? Spirits? Images of people who have passed on and are still among us but not always seen? Perhaps you just enjoy hearing stories about the afterlife. Stories that leave you wondering if they were fact or fiction. The story that I am about to share isn't fiction at all. It's fact, and I know because I experienced it when I was about 7 years old. My family didn't have much money when I was growing up. My mother was a single parent of 10 children. Although a couple of my older siblings had moved out on their own, there were still 6 of us left. She often struggled to pay the bills. When she could no longer afford to pay the rent, she packed up everything we owned and we moved in with my oldest sister, her husband, and their children. Their house was old with lots of windows and a huge backyard, which was perfect for all of us kids to play in. The exterior of the house was pink and white with some of the color peeling away. It had become our home and we were happy to be there. My sister and her husband had rented the house from a friend of theirs for a good price. When they first moved into the house, they noticed that one of the bedrooms upstairs had a lock on the door. Thinking of the safety of their small children, they decided to remove the entire door. There wasn't anything out of the ordinary inside of the room. It was completely empty with the exception of a small piece of carpet. No one ever wondered why that bedroom had a lock on the door, even though the property had been vacant. Unbeknownst to us, we would find out exactly why. Once my family moved in, that room became my brother's bedroom. We called it the back bedroom. Mom, my sisters, and I shared the bedroom across from my brother's room. It could be a bit crowded, but we made it work. Everyone got along well with our new living arrangements. We helped out with the younger kids and were anxiously waiting for my sister to give birth to her last child. The house had 2 levels, and my mom tried her best to keep us in our living area. I liked the house, though I would often feel like something was off. I thought I could hear someone whispering my name, or I'd see something out of the corner of my eye. My heart would start pounding out of my chest, but I convinced myself that I was letting my imagination get the best of me. Unfortunately for me, it wasn't my imagination. I was usually the first to get home from school. My daily routine was to come home, change out of my school clothes, get a snack, do homework, and go upstairs to watch television or play with my dolls. As I sat on the floor playing with my dolls, I heard someone calling me, "Gwen." I was puzzled as I thought that my brothers were either at work or school. I assumed that it must have just been in my head and I ignored it. I continued playing until I heard it again. This time it was louder, dragged out, and sounded sad. "Gwen!" It was a man's voice, a voice that was strange to me. But why was a stranger in our house? I wasn't sure how to react, so I just stood up and slowly turned around. What I saw had me speechless. A man that I did not recognize was walking towards me in a stiff, jerky manner. His skin was ashen and his eyes were black as coal, with no white visible. I opened my mouth to scream, but I couldn't make a sound. Suddenly, I tasted something salty, and the next thing that I remember is hearing my mother saying, "Gwen, what's wrong? Why are you screaming? Why is your nose bleeding?" When my mom was able to calm me down, she asked me to tell her what had made me so upset. I took a deep breath and I told her what I had just seen in my brother's bedroom. At first, I wasn't sure if she even believed me. She had a look of confusion on her face. After a few minutes of silence, she again asked me to tell her what I had seen. "You saw what?" I repeated my story. "I just saw a strange man in the boy's bedroom." Mom could see that I was genuinely frightened and upset. She then took my hand and we went downstairs to join my sister and her young children in another part of the house. We shared my encounter with the rest of the family that evening. They weren't quite ready to believe that there may be someone or something living in our home. I didn't want to play upstairs after school anymore. I started having nightmares and had frequent nosebleeds. I was no longer happy in our house. Everything about it creeped me out. The doors would open by themselves, and the floors would creak even when no one was walking around at the time. When the wind blew through the cracks of the windows and doors, instead of whistling, it would make a slow, achy moaning sound as if the house were in an eternal state of pain. Once, my brother called me upstairs to show me something that he found in the bathroom. When I looked into the toilet, there was a large spider floating around inside, which I believe was a tarantula. I ran out of there as fast as my leg could take me. "Did that man in the back bedroom put the spider in the toilet to scare us?" I wondered. No matter how it got there, I knew I was never going to use that bathroom again. My happiness was fading away more and more each day. I refused to be left alone. I had to have someone with me at all times. Looking back, I'm sure it was annoying for my family to have to escort me around the house. Perhaps they would have been a bit more understanding if they had seen what I saw. I guess that wasn't really up to me, though. One summer night, there was a very intense thunderstorm. The lightning flashes illuminated the whole bedroom. The roar of the thunder made the entire house shake. Tree branches loudly scratched the window panes. Despite the heat, I decided to pull the blanket over my head in an attempt to fall asleep. Suddenly, I was jolted awake by a loud crack of thunder. As I bolted upright, I noticed the room was completely bright. I was not prepared for what I was about to see in the doorway of my brother's bedroom. There he stood, the strange man that I'd seen that day after school. Not only was he calling my name, but this time he was pointing at me. I didn't know what he wanted, and frankly, I didn't care. I was worried for my brothers who were in the same room as the man. I shook our mom as hard as I could until she woke up. She sat up to see what was going on and turned on our bedroom light. Once the lights came on, he was gone. I'm not sure if my mom saw him, but she quickly got out of bed and ran to my brother's bedroom. She woke them and had them sleep on blankets in our room that night. After that event, the bedroom door was replaced and no one was allowed inside. My family no longer felt safe in that house. My sister and her husband found another place to live, and so did we. A few years later, the house was demolished. A new home now sits in its place. As an adult, I learned the identity of the stranger I encountered so many years ago. Apparently, he was a relative of the people who rented the house to my sister. He had committed suicide in the back bedroom. One of my brothers told us that sometimes when he was outside, he would see a man looking out of the bedroom window. My sister is still haunted by terrible memories and refuses to talk about the things she saw while living in that house. I often wonder what became of the man once his home was torn down. Has his spirit finally been set free? Or is he trapped in a new room, waiting for someone to help release him from his pain? Whatever the answer, I will never forget my experience at the house on Joppa Farm Road.